as it relates to the government, why are they not pushing this a lot harder than what they should be doing?
Well, the Mickey Mouse song, Mickey Money. Money.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast, and our guest today is a writer, consultant, presenter, and billed as one of the 100 most influential people in health and fitness. Dr. Michael Mantell has been at the forefront of wellbeing for over 4 decades. In this episode, we talk about a number of subjects, including why as a business you don't want to think about just going back, what is the next big opportunity for the health and fitness industry, and why a lot of businesses are likely to miss it, and then the reason why the health and fitness sector has probably not been delivering on all the promises and what it needs to do differently going forward. I think it's a great episode. I'm sure you'll enjoy it as much as I did. I'd love to hear what you think. Please feel free to contact me directly on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. And please enjoy this episode. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Michael Mantell, for joining us today. I've been following you for some time, and you mentioned off camera that you're doing a column a day, and I've certainly been trying to keep up with the volume of content that you've been putting out at the moment. So thank you so much for joining us on this week's Escape Your Limits podcast.
It is my honor to be here, Matthew. I really am honored. And when the request came in, I was so touched. I thought, wow, what have I done to be worthy of this? The Escape Your Limits is a great podcast, and it's one of the, I think, leading edge podcasts that are out there. When my friend Brian O'Rourke endorses something, it's good.
Yeah. I have a great friendship with Brian, and he's also got a fantastic podcast. And it was interesting to see you guys were connected. I didn't realize that before we'd actually met. So thanks again. So how are you getting on at the moment then? I just thought I'd be curious of the question. Like, looking at your background, it looks like you're in a beautiful sunny place with palm trees and that. So it doesn't look as though it's too bad.
No, this is another day in sunny San Diego, California. We tend to look at things in the most positive way we can. That's not to say that we fool ourselves into thinking that bad things are good. No, they're not. But we have a rational, when I say we, I mean my wife and I, have a rational, realistic view of things. We don't get attached to the negative. We look at the beauty around us. We fill our days, I'm still working very actively, although formally retired. I like to say I'm really rewired and fired. So I'm still very busy. Much of my client contact has been by Zoom or whatever it may be for a long time. We go on our walks down to the ocean. We are exercising every day, and life continues. So it's good. Thank goodness.
Right. And aside from a lot of, obviously it's not a great situation, particularly for people that are affected, but it is, as they're being, we talked briefly about the travel side of things and how that's reduced, but have you seen any positives that have come out of being locked down for a number of weeks now?
Well, it's positives that have come out of this. Yes. And the key thing you just said is, have I seen those positives? And the answer is yes. I'm glad to go through some of the things that I've seen. Let me just quickly say that unfortunately, lots of people focus on the negative part of this. And there is negative. My heart goes out to my clients all around the world one 28-year-old young man who's an actor. He's on television. He's an actor. And he was screaming on the phone with me the other day, earlier in the week, I can't fucking take this anymore. I said, what can't you fucking take? He said, I just can't stand this. It's horrible. It's awful. Why is this happening to me? It's ruining my 20s. Wait a minute, what? Because he wants to play video games with his friends in real life, not on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it may be. But listen to what he says. Listen carefully, because this is the downfall of all of us during COVID-19. Number one, he demands it be different. A woman that I take care of who lives in Canada, she's 59, and she was crying. Her apartment is, quote, too small, and I can't take it. It should be bigger. The apartment should be bigger. The apartment is what it is. You're thinking that you like it to be different might be a good way to think differently. That I should be able to go play video games with my friends in real life. You prefer it. Number two, it's awful. Those who look at this sheltering at home, quarantine, isolation, whatever we call it, and think it's horrible, awful, terrible, who believe they can't stand it, are fooling themselves. They are bullshitting themselves. Instead of thinking it's bad, yes, I don't like it, yes, but I can tolerate this. In fact, I can probably tolerate worse. So demanding, awfulizing, low frustration tolerance, rating yourself. I'm a loser because I'm in the middle of this and I don't have what he has or she has. Those are the blocks to seeing the beauty of more time with your family, whether it's on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it may be. More time for you to think about how can I transform myself, my business, instead of thinking about only what I used to have. So a long answer, but I want to just from the beginning dissect the mindset, or what I call the mind inclined, how we're inclined to use our minds. Those that demand, awfulize, terribilize, I can't stand it, and those who free themselves from disturbing themselves and live happier.
And an interesting subject, and it's probably one I'll spend a bit of time on now as you mention it. But do you think with this period of relative isolation from work, colleagues, other family and everybody, do you think that that's kind of shines a bit of a magnifying glass on some of the stuff that we probably kind of pretend isn't going on? You know, do you think it kind of gets us to face some of those things that we've been brushing under the carpet, that it's like, okay, well, am I really happy in what I'm doing? Is this now just kind of exposing all the parts of my life that I probably need to do something about? And like you said, either you're just in denial, or you say, actually, like, now I'm going to start trying to, knock some of these off my list. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, my thought is you are spot on. That's why you're a great interviewer. You nailed it. This is a good time for people to say, gee, I didn't realize that was an issue. I was able to ignore it. On the other hand, this gives people a chance to put into perspective what really matters. Does having a new shirt, is it that important? Is the label on the jacket that essential? Have I been conflating the number on the scale with my self-worth, what I weigh, how I see myself? Am I looking at things in my business that I thought were no big deal that are suddenly a very big deal? Here's an example. We're talking to fitness leaders. Come on. How many times, I've been doing this for more than a decade. We all see, you walk into the gym and the person at the desk greets you like this. Hey, I'm standing over here. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Okay, and got it. Okay, have a great workout. Take care. Hello, I'm over here. Or the person wiping down the equipment, and she goes like this. And she walks to the next one. And the gym owner walks by and doesn't even think about it. Today, we realize these things matter. Eyes on, mind inclined forward. Let's look at what really matters. Ultimately, I think what we all recognize, based on the number of people that are ill and unfortunately, tragically have passed away, that what really matters is health. I teach my corporate CEOs and the clients I work with something that we call PEMS. Now, I didn't say PMS. I said PEMS. That is to say physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual capacity. Back a decade ago in the Harvard Business Review, Tony Lair and, Jim Lair and Tony Schwartz described this as being the corporate athlete. I think we've been able to bury our mental, our emotional, our physical, our spiritual capacities until now, when we realize how damned important these really are if we're going to leapfrog forward. My first job was I was chief psychologist at Children's Hospital, and I began working in television, media, giving psychology away in the news, Good Morning America, and all kinds of shows for decades on a weekly basis. And then created an idea, let's take care of cops. I want to start a program of psychological services for cops, and did that for a decade or two. And then one day I saw an article, the American Council on Exercise had an idea that they were going to eradicate obesity. My father had died of obesity. They were going to eradicate obesity through diet and exercise. I thought, oh my God, how could they be so wrong? They left off the third leg of the tripod. So me being who I am, called, hey, you don't know me and I don't know you, but you left off the third leg of that tripod. What is that? Thinking. Like it was quiet on the other end. And she said, wow, I'd like to talk to you. Where are you located? I said, oh, I'm in New York City right now because I was visiting grandkids with my wife. Oh, that's unfortunate. We'd love to meet with you. I said, where are you guys located? We're in San Diego, California. Boom. Pow. Had a meeting. A couple of weeks later, I became their first senior consultant for behavioral sciences and began developing this coaching concept instead of training, health coach, behavior change, and that got me into the fitness world, and that all brought me to where I am with you right now. Long story.
So what was it like going back into when you came up with this well, I guess it wasn't an idea, but you were sort of saying about missing the third leg. Was that based on your sort of, what you'd studied previously to realize that the psychology was really affecting everything else that you do and your motivation, or was that something that you'd put together yourself? How did that come about?
Well, I'll give credit to Albert Ellis and another teacher of mine at University of Pennsylvania, Aaron Beck. Albert Ellis invented something called rational emotive behavioral therapy. And then years later, Aaron Beck came along and he created what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. Today, I don't refer to it as therapy anymore. I refer to it as education. That's what it is. It's education. And I realized that nobody picks up a cup of water without thinking first. No one picks up a piece of candy and put it in their mouth without thinking first. When we think that diet and exercise are the lack of diet, lack of exercise are the cause of obesity, what we are doing is creating stereotype and stigma. What we're saying is people are lazy. People are lazy. The fact is, and when we omit the biological, the environmental, the genetic, food supply issues that are related to this, economic factors that are related to obesity, what we're saying is it's your fault. So diet and exercise hasn't worked. The World Health Organization, a whole list of other places have said that by right now it's about 42% of our country Worldwide, about 2 point something billion people have obesity. Notice I didn't say are obese. They have obesity. In America, by 2030, when they were going to eradicate obesity, the prediction now is 50% of the world, of America, will have obesity. 50%. Another 25%, they say, are going to have severe or more morbid obesity. So diet and exercise doesn't do it. We have to work on what people think about the economics, the food supply, the genetics, and so forth and so on. I could talk forever about this. Willpower, forget. Motivation, I don't even believe there is such a thing as motivation. Wait, what did you just say? There's no such thing as motivation. There isn't. I want to do something, but I tell myself a whole bunch of stories that block me. I just wrote a column about it. Motivation, you don't get it. It isn't about building in more motivation. It's taking out the blocks. So that's the thinking part. And as you correctly pointed out, it comes from, I wrote my thesis in 1972 on the psychological aspects of obesity, and been at it ever since.
So let's stay on obesity for the moment. Then and that's one of the ways I connected with you on that subject. So it seems to be, according to one of your articles, since 1972, it looks as though globally it seems to have tripled the amount of people. I'll be careful with my words now, but what do you say? Are obese or have obesity? How do you
have obesity?
Have obesity.
we have to be very careful. We don't say this obese member, this obese client. We put the person first. Joe, who has obesity, not Joe is obese, but he lives with obesity. I'm training an obese client? No, I'm training a client who has obesity. The Obesity Society, the Obesity Action Coalition, the American Society of Bariatric Physicians, the list goes on, all use the proper language, people first language. And I can get very specific. We talk about language that stigmatizes and language that doesn't. So for example, unhealthy weight or overweight or weight problems are a much better way to talk about this issue than fat or chubby or things like that. So
it looks like this for whatever reason, and I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment. But it seems to be getting rapidly worse, both for adults and also for kids. I've sort of looked at some of the research on that, and that's pretty frightening as well. So, and yet, we've got all these fitness programs, and we seem to have more health food and advice and gurus than ever in history, and yet this, the world has an issue with, a sort of major health issue, and a lot more people have obesity. What are your thoughts in terms of what's going wrong? Is it education in terms of people are not, they don't understand the basics of what to eat, and they're being sold to by companies that are selling junk food? Is it that they're not exercising? Is it that is it sort of more mental, where people have other issues which then are sort of being manifested in them carrying weight, just as the same as someone would probably drink too much and smoke too much? What's your why is it getting worse, and what are some of the sort of driving factors to that?
That's a great question again. I think that there are many answers, and a lot depends on the particular perspective you are coming from. I think that yes, there are many weight reduction programs out there. Those that fail are not meant to succeed, because we know that diets that have the word die, D-I-E, in it, are businesses. And a business is not in business to put themselves out of business. Look at what's going on in the gym world today. We want to get back as fast as we can. Not necessarily back, but want to open again. So diet companies that are selling diets that work for a little bit of time, they don't work, they want to pull you back in, whether it's Weight Watchers or Nutrisystems or Jenny Craig or this supplement or rub vinegar all over you or whatever it might be, or my 3 weeks to lose 18 pounds. They don't work, they fail. I think that when we look at gyms and health clubs, true health clubs, they stand out in terms of their focus on helping people gain health. That may include weight loss. Number one, they are committed to this people first language. People who come in that have obesity are referred to as people who have it, not the obese person. There's a zero tolerance for derogatory jokes and memes. There's inclusiveness all around the walls of the gym. There's pictures of folks who have obesity. The waiting rooms, the bathrooms, the scales, the chairs are all size friendly. People focus on the true etiology, not just simply calories in, calories out. People look at their beliefs, the stereotypes that they have. Staffs are held accountable for the stereotype beliefs they have. When I look at gyms that include those, I don't see any difficulties with people being successful in gaining health and losing some weight. Marketing today, attractiveness and availability of food. But again, just because my wife and I went shopping yesterday and there was some great looking food out there, we're both watching our weights. And so we looked and we said, nah, don't really need it, don't want it. We try to eat from the neck down, not from the neck up. I deserve it. It'll make me feel good. I'm too stressed out. So there's a whole host of these interesting reasons what leads to failure. Some of it is purposeful, some of it is unintentional. But any program that leaves the mind out is doomed to fail.
And when if you talk about obesity, then is it I sort of be careful with how I say that, but is it something like if you're overweight and obese, is that because you're just is that like would you say that's like a disease, like being an alcoholic or being addicted to cigarettes? Is that the category that you would put that in, or is it more of a discipline thing where you've just not got the right kind of diet and you've not got the discipline to work out?
I don't think it's discipline. I think there's element of that, but the trouble with most fitness exercise teachers, exercise trainers, I don't like the term personal trainer. I reserve that for other species. It's a term we have to put that term away. Let's get rid of it. From now on, we're going to stop.
Why don't you like using that term?
Because personal trainer is like you're going to train me personally. Trainers are, I think, diminish the importance and the value of the skill and the depth of caring that most professional fitness professionals that I know have. They're exercise instructors, they're exercise educators, they're exercise teachers, they're health educators, they're coaches. Back in 2011, I think it was, 13, I remember, I gave a key address at a fitness conference at ACE, and I called it Pathway to the Future, Coaching, Not Training. But in any case, so look, I think that there are numbers of factors that have to be taken into consideration. Self-discipline, willpower, believing that only will lead people to stigmatize people as lazy, not caring, as weak-willed. And that kind of bias leads people to have emotional difficulties, more eating, more weight gain, avoid exercise. It pushes them away from gyms where we want more members to come and gain health. When we have to look at behavioral factors, absolutely. What is it that we can do to help people delete the barriers that they've set up to more exercise, to more awareness, mindful eating, and so forth? Economic factors, food pricing. People live in areas where unhealthy food is much more affordable than healthy food. Environmental factors, active transportation, walking, parks, that kind of thing, where people can be more active naturally. Non-exercise thermogenesis. Genetic factors, big thing. Look at the family, you'll see that the whole family is struggling with whether it's adopted, whether it's twins or parents and children. Obesity has been shown to be highly heritable, ranging from grandparents to grandchildren across the board. And then other factors. It's influenced by all kinds of things: parental abuse, divorce, parental incarceration. That affects obesity too. So when someone comes into a gym and says, "Hey, I want to, lose weight," great. Let's get you working out some more. Watch those calories and hit it. They sound foolish, and they don't mean to. They care. They want to help. So we want to train those people to be aware of the myriad of causes of obesity.
So it certainly, the way you explain it, it certainly doesn't sound as straightforward to be successful in as I suppose what you'd think is, go to the gym, sort your diet out, have a shake, and you kind of get there. So are you saying then that the type of coaches that would really or businesses that would really want to support this area, there's a greater level of education required beyond just your sort of your physical fitness and your nutrition side then?
Absolutely. About a year and a half ago, I was going to do a film on obesity, and it was going to tell a story of a man lying in bed, 650 pounds, a real client of mine, who couldn't really get out of bed, but his daughter was getting married, and he wouldn't go to the wedding. He couldn't find anything to fit him. So in my mind, let's tell a story. He meets Ralph Lauren or some fancy designer, and let me see. Oh yeah, Versace. He meets some fancy designer, and the guy says, "I can make a tuxedo for you," and he does. And the seat opens, and he's walking down the aisle in this beautiful tuxedo, and he feels great. Well, I couldn't get funding for it. I spoke to a physician that I heard opened a resort called The Resort in the Bahamas. And he said, "Hey, I don't want to fund this, but it's a great idea. But I have a better idea. Let's help those with obesity." He's in the hotel industry. And he said, let's come up with something that he called plus size certified. Plus size certified. And what we do is we go into doctors' offices, gyms and health clubs, hotels and restaurants, and we train people to do just what you're suggesting. Make sure that you have furnishings and fittings that are size friendly. Make sure that you know what language to use. Make sure you know how to greet those who have this disease and understand that it is a disease. Make sure that you have the skill, the compassion, which is so important today in dealing with people with any disease, and watch your numbers grow. And by the way, in addition, let's make sure that your marketing graphics have photos of people who have obesity. I went to the gym that I go to, been going to for 40 years, and I said, "Hey, I have to quit." "What do you mean? You doc, you can't quit. Come on, I said, "No, I have." "What do you mean? I don't belong here." "What?" "Now, look around. Look at all these pictures. They're millennials who are cut, ripped and shredded, and they got the face hair, and they got the beautiful guy. I don't see anybody who looks like me. And the young woman who was a friend of ours, my wife is a fitness trainer, by the way. She said, "Oh my gosh, are you going to tell Paula?" That's my wife. I said, Paula knows. I'm not quitting. I'm just kidding. But how about getting some inclusive pictures? PlusSizeCertified.org is an organization that helps gyms, health clubs, restaurants, hotels, doctors' offices, healthcare facilities understand how to cope with the ability of opening yourself up without bias, free of stigma, eliminating it, and inviting these folks in. There's over 100 million people in America now who have this disease. 100 million. Can you imagine what that does to the gym industry in opening up again? Wow. How about it, Matt? How about if the gym industry says, a number of years ago, Mantell went out to all these bariatric surgery centers, and he set up these aftercare programs after surgery. There were no trainers, no coaches, no exercise for these folks. How about if the gyms became the bariatric aftercare programs for surgery centers? Wow. There's so much opportunity out there now in this sphere, but in many spheres. Let's be forward, far-sighted, leapfrogging thinkers as we come back into the world post-COVID-19 and say, we have different offerings. Yeah, we're the same place that many people love. Someone said 80% of people are coming back into the gym. That's great. But that 100 million people we're not touching. This is the time.
With that, then, like you said, that imagery and seating and some of the environmental changes to make. Like, do you see this as being, like, I guess, how do you navigate that? Would you have facilities that just cater for that particular needs of a demographic, just in the same way as you have boutiques that are very clearly focused on the millennials? They don't want, or don't really cater on anyone else. Would you have facilities that would cater for obesity, people with obesity, or would you would it be sort of part? You mentioned it being inclusive. Would that sort of be better if you have obesity to have your own kind of space, your marketing, and feel comfortable and confident, or would you sort of integrate those two? Just interested in your thoughts on that.
Brilliant question again. I love your questions. You have great questions. The answer is, the link is what you think. Title of my last book. The link is what you think. Meaning, there are people who want to only go to women's only gyms. I only go to CrossFit. Hoorah! I only go to boot camp. Then there are people who I like to see all kinds of people, all different people, all sizes. I don't think there is an answer. I think, though, that we have been hearing for 2 months, we're in this together. Hashtag, we're in this together. I think there's a beautiful rainbow, and I don't like to sound too syrupy here, but there's something beautiful about a blend of all kinds of people. The gym I go to, there's a guy, he comes every day with a wheelchair and a help dog. What do you call it? I'm blocking the name now. The dog that helps him move around. Yeah, thank you. He has no legs. He's in a wheelchair, and he does upper body and side bends, and it's incredible to watch him. And people are so heartened and so themselves, uplifted. It gives them the boost. There are other people who are shamed, fearful of what they've been told for years and years since they've been kids with obesity. I know they're making fun of me. They're looking at me. So I don't think there is an answer. I think that the point is, use the expression before, cater to. Let's cater to people who are paying us for a service. Let's cater, whatever it is. Compassionomics, a hot word today in when physicians bring compassion to patients, when the trainers, the coaches that I work with, learn how to bring compassion to those they're working with, it's unbelievable. My wife is a personal trainer. She's a fitness coach. She specializes in working with older folks. She heard of a trainer in a local gym that is just the epitome of what it's all about. And she went to him and she hired this guy. And he said, "Oh my God, you're a trainer. How can I train you?" They have an incredible, incredible professional relationship. And she's referred many, many people to him. He doesn't have any special workout. He's got heart. Heart. That's what he has. And that's what's selling.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, in terms of marketing to a particular demographic, or a demographic with particular needs. And I guess you've kind of answered that. I suppose, would you agree that it's more, like you say, making people feel as though you care, and regardless of whatever your situation is, you're going to go there. So you don't have to necessarily just, we're the club for, people that have obesity. It's like, look, we're the people who care, and we'll, come and see us. Is that kind of how you see this?
Exactly correct. I think that go on the internet into whether it's Google or Facebook or LinkedIn, and look at the photographs that trainers and gyms and health clubs have to display what they do. You don't see anybody who has a weight issue. I don't want to say black and white. Rarely do you see someone who has obesity. I went on a recent, I don't want to mention the name of the group because I don't need to create any ill will, but a major gym organization. I went back and looked at the last 20 photos in their marketing. Not one picture of someone who has obesity. I just looked at a gym today that is announcing we're coming back, and we're making sure everyone wears masks when you're close up and 6 feet away, and and hand washing. They showed a trainer training an individual on a rower. She was standing above him. He was on the rower. Neither were wearing masks. What? Open your eyes. You want to market? Market. But imagine that the person you're marketing to is standing in front of you. Look, Thomas Hubel, Hubl, wrote a great, I follow him. He wrote a great article on the importance of deep listening, where truly far-sighted, formidable, difference-making leaders can read what people don't say. So when the gym is going to market to someone who has obesity or has this or wants to do that, don't just put pictures up of people who are already fit. Well, it's aspirational. No, it's demotivating. It pushes people away. I don't belong there. We've learned that about race. Let's learn that about gender. Let's learn that about age. Let's learn that about size.
Talking about that, then, the models and imagery. What's your thoughts on the sort of plus size, or celebrate being? And again, I'm trying to be very careful with my words when I do this, not to offend anyone, but I'm trying to get to the point as well. But there is a big movement of celebrating, the plus size model, and just accepting that you're big, even though in some cases that may not necessarily be healthy to you. Particularly if you look at what's happening at the moment, that may compromise or put you at risk. Where do you draw the line then in terms of I suppose supporting that movement, but also being aware that there's a certain weight that's going to be healthy to most people to prevent themselves for various different diseases and sicknesses, etc.
Well, the health at any size, health at every size movement, HAES, is a movement, and they're promoting. I have obesity, I have overweight, and I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. What I like about it is that it promotes what I consider to be one of the essentials of healthy, of good mental health. That is unconditional self-acceptance. I have obesity. I can unconditionally accept myself. What concerns me is the shading over into promoting obesity. That's the danger of these health at every size movement. In some way, people can suggest that they're promoting obesity, and that I don't like. Accepting health, you can be healthy and have obesity. I can be fit and have obesity. I can be thin and not fit. So I think as long as we're promoting self-acceptance and health, great. But if we're promoting resignation and promoting obesity, well, that's like let's promote cancer. Cancer's okay no matter what. I feel good about having cancer. What? COVID? You should be proud of the fact that you have it and you're fighting it. No, I don't think so. It's a disease. Obesity is an illness. We want to help people through it and over it and put it in their rear view mirror.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a subject I've spoke about and read, and there's a lot of different arguments. But I think I definitely agree with you. I suppose if you come back to your original view, making sure mentally you're in a strong place is got to be important. So if you come out of the gates and you're not accepting yourself, you're in a compromised position. But then I suppose being forward looking in terms of saying, okay, well, I am accepting it, but now I'm going to actually sort of improve my health, seems to be the right way to look at it. I would say, I would agree.
Yeah, we just don't want to promote an illness. And to your question about the health at every size, yes, you can be healthy, but let's not promote obesity. It's an illness.
With that, looking at some of the information that's coming out, and I guess at the moment with the COVID situation, every time you open up the news, you get, somebody says you should go left, and then the other person says you should go right. Every argument has a contradiction somewhere along it, but there certainly seems to be a strong supporting evidence that if you have obesity, then you're more at risk than someone that doesn't have obesity with going on to have more, to be hospitalized and for it to be a lot serious than people who are, with the correct weight. What's your view on that? Have you spent time looking into it in any detail? What's your thoughts on that whole idea?
Well, you nailed it again. And that is that when we started the show today, people had one belief about it, but now there've already been 4 other beliefs in this interim. And that's why I wrote a column on the harm of SIGHENCE, science, phony science. There's a lot of phony science. One theory that I read this morning, actually, from England, is that those with obesity, their fat cells produce a high level of ACE2, a protein that the coronavirus seems to attach to easily. So the more fat cells, the more of this ACE2 protein, the more likely that the coronavirus is going to affect. It affects respiratory difficulties, which people who have obesity already have commonly. And so with and heart disease and asthma and all kinds of other things that they're already focused with and exposed to, I do think that that's why we are hearing more about obesity. But I'll tell you, the first question you asked is, what about opportunity? Gym industry, this is the opportunity. This is an incredible opportunity. Obesity is in the headlines. It isn't about how many, it's about saving lives. You want to be a health club? Great. And you want to promote exercise because it builds immunity? I get it. But how about helping those with obesity build their immunity, cut back on those fat cells, and make coronavirus a little less likely to give them something to attach to? So go out, talk to doctors' offices, introduce yourself. I write letters for the coaches that I coach on what to say to doctors, how to introduce yourself. This COVID-19 is giving people who want to get into this market a phenomenal opportunity to do so.
So is that from your perspective, and I'm certainly no expert on this, but from your perspective, is that is that a fact that, certainly, and I know it kind of makes a lot of sense, but if you have obesity, then just protecting or preventing this COVID, getting COVID-19, which certainly seems as though it's not going to go away in the near term, but improving your weight is going to be a really good way of preventing or being able to deal with it if you get it, as opposed to just relying on when this next vaccine is likely to come out.
That's very, very true. Those with obesity, it seems, have more complications and perhaps greater rates of death. The latter statement I can't be sure of. But the fact that there is more side effects and more difficulties along with the disease of COVID, for sure, that we see. I think that whether it's exercise that helps fuel immunity, similarly, weight loss helps fuel immunity specifically to COVID-19, among other things as well. But when you have COVID-19 and you're having breathing difficulties, what does obesity do? It creates by itself respiratory difficulties, asthma, lung difficulties. There's liver implications, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol. It is related to all of those illnesses. And so when a gym says we're a health club and we want to help build your immunity by getting you into a regular exercise routine, and we're going to start offering behavioral science classes, and we're going to offer dietitians, and we're going to offer food prep services. We're going to have group cooking. I used to be the chief behavioral science officer at the premier fitness camp here in La Costa, and people would come for a week or 2 or 3 at a time at a very, very expensive price, thousands per week, but they would learn to cook with each other. That was critically important. I think when gyms can become integrative, optimal health centers, not just exercise places, they will be promoting health all across the board. I was the chief behavioral science officer at a local gym here in La Jolla numbers of years ago. We brought in stress management classes, stress prevention classes, relationship enhancement classes. We brought in family workout classes, everything to uplift the mind towards a healthy lifestyle. Not just, there's some weights, go lift them and don't forget to wipe them down.
Why do you, with so much, I guess, information and research being out there on this, why do you think that the governments of the world kind of spend so much time on the cure side of things? I know I did an interview just a few weeks ago about the investment in preventative healthcare in the United Kingdom, and very small budget that really goes into that. And then when you look at the implications, what this COVID's caused, a lot of the people, because of overweight or what they call these underlying conditions, are a lot of the group that are being admitted to hospital. So it would, in my simple logical brain, I'm no professor or doctor or anything, but in my simple brain, it's like, okay, well, look, if we could make an impact on just people that are out there at the moment that need just, a bit of advice, bit of education on that side of things, it will filter right the way through, put less stress on the already overstressed health services. We're fitter. It doesn't cost as much money. So many benefits by kind of having a really strong preventative strategy as opposed to the money that seems to go into these cures, which, when you read about some of these vaccines and everything, most of them come with serious side effects. And particularly if you try and accelerate that without, a huge amount of testing, some of the side effects are terrible. A lot of them, even the basic ones, kill hundreds of thousands of people. Why do you think, why is that sort of not working out as you would think it should do?
I tell a story oftentimes about a village in Switzerland. They had the best ski slopes on the planet, and people would go to the edge and look over and fall. And they didn't. This wasn't beginners. This was an expert ski slope. But everyone like, oh, and they fall. Well, the townspeople got together. They decided they have to deal with this. So they decided to buy a very, very expensive ambulance to outfit them with the best equipment, big pharma contracts, surgeon contracts, nursing contracts, healthcare, hospital contracts. They spent $28 million. And when someone fell, boom, they were right there to pick them up and give them the best care on the planet. So I called them, me being who I am. I said, hey guys, I have a cousin. He lives in Teaneck, New Jersey. He's a contractor. And he said for $1,400, and actually he'd give you a discount, he could put up a fence. And they said, oh, well, no, we've invested already. We can't do that. I think gyms and health clubs are fences. And if they market themselves that way to prevent illness, we know that exercise is medicine. It is healthy. It's healthy for you. Why take medicine when I can exercise and not have to take medicine? And so I think that there's just a mindset. The same thing with stress management. Why manage what you can prevent? And the gyms that I consult to, I always say, why managing what you can help people prevent? They spend less, they wind up spending more with you, but they spend less on other things that give them more money to spend on stuff for you. So I'm a big believer in prevention at every level. And I think that this COVID situation, as you said earlier, it's going to go on and on. There's going to be a round two. We're going to have to be very careful as we open gyms. And I just want gyms to be cutting edge, to be so resolute in thinking about what can be different. Not just rush back. We're here. We're back. Let's really be on the cutting edge of what's leapfrog ahead. And you can do that, I believe, with one group, that is people who have obesity, but even if not, show that something is palpably different. Offer integrative healthcare. We're aligned with physicians in our neighborhood. We are partners with local hospital. We are partners with one gym that I work with in Arizona does actual blood tests in the gym, and they send it out to their physicians, and the physicians read it and send it back and give the people information. But that's it. I want to have them partner and have healthcare as part of that gym now. That's prevention.
And do you just part of that question? If you don't feel comfortable in answering it, that's fine. But as it relates to the government, why are they not pushing this a lot harder than what they should be doing?
Well, the Mickey Mouse song, Mickey Money, money, follow the money. That's what it's about. It's all about money, power, self-aggrandizement. I don't think I'm being cynical, although I am a skeptic. But I think follow the money, and you'll see why the money is going to be spent on the cure when prevention is what it's about. I read a crazy statistic this morning. 90% of those hospitalized in San Francisco with COVID are people who were disregarding all of the rules. They were going out to work, they were going out and about. I don't know if it's inaccurate. It could be fake news. There's so much of it, but take care of yourself. Look, the big question that people are asking today, Matt, is do you really feel safe going back to a gym? But that's going to rely on some more cleaning and maybe a mask. Here's a wipe it down yourself. And although 80% are looking forward to going back, many people have trepidation. The gyms need to speak to that fear and show how they are doing more than what the government is suggesting.
Yeah. So one of the things that we discussed off camera, I'd be interested in, in your thoughts now. What does leadership mean at the moment? What's it's an interesting time. I guess everybody's exposed, businesses. What are your thoughts on how to be a leader through these times? What are some of the positive and negatives things that you're seeing?
Well, I think the number one is I've given the keynote address at the Transformational Leadership Council, and I coach a lot of executives who consider themselves to be transformational leaders. These are people who have open minds. They are completely open and free to entertain all kinds of possibilities for what can be. They're cheerleaders of other people. They are resolute in their stick-to-itiveness. They never give up, ever. Nothing, whatever stops them doesn't stop them. They're willing to, they put their egos out the door. They don't have egos. They may look like they do. You may see pictures of them, posting with their fancy watch or whatever, but they don't have egos. These are people who have a cultural focus. They're folks who have compassion, who are formidable in every way. They're team focused. They want to teach people how profit, as Chuck Runyon says, as an example, is about playfulness, is about profit, financial profit, is about people, and is about one of the things I'm forgetting right now, but that's okay. It'll come back to me later. I think transformational leaders are people who are in the minds of others for their benefit and see how they can help people. They're quixotic, they're original thinkers, they're proactive, they take preemptive steps, and they're never fearful. They have nothing that holds them back. They're willing to take those risks. I could go on and on and on talking about this. That's a whole presentation by itself. But I think that those are some things that right now gym leaders, and there are many, many of them, who are going to be successful opening their gyms. But there's a small group that are off over here, and they're not thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow is already yesterday. They're thinking about a year from now. They're thinking about what's going to happen when this occurs again. What's the next group we can reach into? How do we become not just a better looking club, but a more fully functioning club? How do we touch the lives of people other than having a fancier treadmill?
And that sort of goes into the conversation we had about, the terminology, going back, let's get back, let's get open. And I think you're saying that, that's probably the wrong way to look at it. And I guess particularly where there's a lot of, if you look at the consumers out there, that you're going to have some people that feel safe to go back, using those words, and others that don't. So what's your views about going back and why that may not be the right way to think about it?
Well, because the windshield is always larger than the rearview mirror. The rearview mirror is where I was. I don't want to open a gym or health club that is still anchored in the 1970s or centuries ago. I gave a talk a couple years ago. I said that yesterday it was the gymnasium, the old Greek Roman gymnasiums. And then it became fitness centers and then medical fitness centers. Well, today is almost over. Tomorrow is going to come and go. We'll have another pandemic, which we've ignored, the obesity pandemic. How about thinking about something completely new, much broader, much more inclusive? An optimal health center. That's what people want now. Most people don't just want muscle or shredded abs or six pack. They want health. As the population gets older, they want to live longer. They want longevity. As blue zones get more and more popular today, and they're telling people who have longevity aren't joining gyms or lifting weights. They have non-exercise thermogenesis, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT exercise. The message is almost, you don't need a gym. I want gyms to say, of course you need us. You don't need me to rent my treadmill or to rent my weights. You have that at home. You bought that for yourself last month. The Total Gym, you got that at home. Mark LeBaire, I love the guy. His system, I have two of those things in my home gym. Wow. We have equipment from TRX, everything in the world. I don't need to go to a gym to rent their equipment. I go to the gym for other reasons. I want training. I want socialization. I want camaraderie. But the gym starts becoming my preventive health center. Wow. That's what gym leaders ought to be thinking about. Not going back to just opening the doors and every other treadmill now, guys. We're the same. No, you're going to lose. You're going to lose to the handful of people over here who are whispering what's going to be in version 5.0.
Yeah, I like that, and I like instead of going back, we're not going back. We're transforming. I think that's a really nice way of looking at it. Certainly, one that we're going to be thinking a lot about. Just slightly changing gear as we sort of wrap up now, Michael. At the moment, it's obviously a very difficult time for a lot of people. So you've got the people that you've got the group we spoke about that has obesity and they're dealing with that, being stuck at home, not exercising, being tempted. You've got people that are in losing their jobs, no certainty about what's happening in the future. It's a pretty tough time for a lot of people, and also maybe family, friends, or relatives that are also sick at the moment. And so it certainly seems to be a tough place to live in, albeit at the beginning, there's some positives to be taken about it. I've followed you on social media, and there's some interesting things you do. I love the thing you talk about gratitude. It's something that I've started with my children since we've been at home. We do 5 things around the dinner table, which we didn't used to have dinner together. I think I could count on one hand the amount of times we've done that in the last few years. And 2, we've started to share things that we're grateful for. What are some of the ideas, tips, that strategies that people can be easily fitting into their daily routines that will just prepare them for what we're all going through at the moment?
Great question. I think number one, the idea of sitting around and talking about what you're grateful for with family, whether you can do that through a virtual means or face to face, if you're blessed to be able to do that, is a great thing. Be able to say what you're grateful for, what you're thankful for. This is a great time to eliminate thoughts in your mind that have disturbed you, especially demanding that life be different. If you can go through this and catch yourself making yourself angry that something is not the way you want it to be, recognize, not just that I don't want it to be this way. If I'm angry, I'm demanding it be different. So number 2, in addition to being grateful, expressing that, when you wake up in the morning, instead of demanding how the day is going to be, think about what can go right at nighttime when you go to sleep, think about what did go right and what you're happy for. I asked a young 10-year-old boy with a pretty significant emotional disruption, how are things going? Anything going well? He said, nothing's going well. Nothing. Well, when you logged on, were you able to log on easily? Well, yeah, but that's the way the internet works. When you were hungry today, did your mom make you something to eat? Well, yeah, she's supposed to do that. Well, did your mom and dad kiss you goodnight last night? Well, yeah, they always do. But nothing went right. He wasn't seeing it. That's the sad part of this. That's the very sad part of this. So I think that the idea of being able to see what you can be grateful for, getting rid of the demanding thinking, knowing that my job is to focus on what is right in front of me, good in front of me. Try that little technique of what can go right today and what did go right as I look back on the day. Those are some easy techniques. I know that gratitude journals are very helpful. I'm not a big gratitude journal writer. I don't keep a journal, but I would just say be physically active. So my mantra is be active every day, not too much, but every day. If you can go on a walk with neighbors and smile at other people that you never smiled with, they'll smile back, and suddenly you'll start to think, gee, this neighborhood is a nice neighborhood. They're friendly. But it started with you. And last, I'll leave you with another mantra of mine. If it is to be, it is up to me. Mm-hmm. If it is to be, it is up to me. It's not up to anyone else. It's up to me. That gives me the responsibility that I have for determining how I feel. Life can be falling apart. Voltaire said, life is a shipwreck, but we still have to learn to sing in our lifeboat. My wife and I made up a list of great songs that are very uplifting and positive, and we like to sing those during the day. That's another cool thing to do.
Fantastic. So great, some great tips there. So I've got one more question, but before that, it'd be interesting to know, like you've talked about a few different things, your book, also the training in terms of the
certified.
So yeah, so can you just share some of those opportunities to engage with you or find out more about what you're doing?
Right, absolutely. I just got finished doing a training webinar with Anytime Fitness, their franchise association, and I shared that I'm not selling anything. I'm more retired. As I said at the beginning, rewired and refired. Still very busy. I have a book out I have 4 books. My first was Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. P.S. It's all small stuff. I wrote that in 1988. Someone came along, took the title in 1994. That's a whole other Zoom cast you and I can do. I wrote a book on violence in the workplace. And then I have, my last book is called The Link is What You Think. It's available on Amazon. It's a great coaching book. But you can get that for free by looking at me on Facebook every day. I have the Mantell Daily 5. I put out 5 tips every day. They're all there. I've been writing a column every day for the last 50 days on Arianna Huffington site that I call Emotional Education. And plussizecertified.org. Go on there and get some information. It's the smallest investment, money-wise, it's a nonprofit you can ever make to show the world that you have compassion for people who have obesity. 100 million people, only growing more and more. And we need to reach out as an industry and incorporate them in a positive, healthy way. So those are some things that I think I would direct people to. My website, drmichaelmantell.com. Simple. You can go on there and learn more about me and get all kinds of stuff and information.
Fantastic. So final question, Michael. Escape Your Limits is about escaping what you've believed is impossible and gone on to make it possible. What would be an example of where you've escaped your own personal limits?
That I'm sitting here with you today. We have a Facebook group, my old elementary school, And so someone started reading my columns, and she wrote back and she posted, "Oh my God, Michael Mantell, I always thought you were stupid in elementary school. I didn't realize you'd become this." And I wrote back, it's public, it's all there. And I wrote back, I said, "I tell myself that every day. How am I doing this?" So my escaping the limit is I have eliminated any barriers. There are no barriers. I believe in faith. Faith is faith anchored in trust and hope. Faith, faith anchored in trust and hope. I have unlimited trust and unlimited hope. That's my escape of any. There are no limits. There are no limits.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you this. I don't believe the sky is the limit. There's no limit.
I think that's a great attitude, and I think that sort of wraps things up nicely. It was, certainly with a lot of business owners going or thinking about coming out of this, and with there being a lot of concerns, and I think certainly from your perspective, there seems to be a lot of hope. That's both for people that are sort of struggling at the moment, from the respect of there are people there to help you, and I think from a business opportunity, there's with certainly some thought and some consideration and doing things differently and not going back using the rear view mirror. I think there's some really exciting opportunities for business as well. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing this knowledge, and I would encourage people to look, because you certainly on your LinkedIn and your Facebook pages, there's a ton of wonderful hours worth of information and articles there that are absolutely brilliant. So I thank you so much for doing that and for continuing to fly the flag.
Matthew, it's an honor. You really have honored me by putting me in this enormously fabulous Zoomcast that you do. I believe that there's enormous hope for the fitness industry, for health clubs, gyms, brick and mortar, online, and things yet to be imagined, that people are imagineering right now. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.